So I'm presenting today Joshua Tree National Park, and it was established October 31st of 1994, and I'm using Maya Wright's presentation for this. Here's where Joshua Tree National Park is. It's here in Southern California, so when you type on your presentation chart, that's where you'll put it. And here are some landscape views that Maya chose. So those are actually the Joshua trees. But check out this. And this helps with the landscape explanation. So it says the rocks are the result of Earth's changes over millions of years. Earth's crust is broken into pieces that are constantly moving. We know about that. Tectonic plates. Let's go back 270 million years ago. Back then, most of the land was gathered into one landmass called Pangaea. And that would have been where California is. Here, the continent was colliding with the sea floor. So can you see it's a subduction zone? The dense Farallon plate dove under the lighter continent. And so here it says water and gases were released, and the fluids and the magma rose up, caused the rock to melt and form chambers of magma. So what we're seeing is an igneous intrusion. The magma chamber grew, breaking off pieces of rock and following fractures or cracks in the rock upward. And around 100 million years ago, it cooled into stone. The hardened stone cracked under pressure, and since then, the ground above it has been eroding away. And then water seeps into those cracks and turns the nearby rock to soil. And then the soil wears away, leaving the rock piles. So that is how you get views, real views like that in Joshua Tree National Park. And here's some more landscape views. So I know that you've seen it in a video, but this is how Maya put it in words. So 270 million years ago, there was a subduction zone. Magma from the subduction zone cooled underground before reaching the surface. Since the magma didn't make it out of the ground, there was an igneous intrusion about 100 million years ago. The intrusion cracked, and the groundwater, which means water underground, eroded the crust and some of the igneous rock. We see the rocks on top now because the softer soils got eroded away. So when we type our dominant force, this is going to be groundwater erosion, which is kind of weird because we think of that only with caves, but that's not the case. It can actually happen in a place like Joshua Tree. The connection to class. So this reminds Maya, of the rock cycle song because of the igneous rocks and the way that they were formed from cooled magma. Remember, it all starts with magma deep down in the earth that cools. Yeah. Okay, so next up are her attractions. So Keys View, I've actually been to this park and stood here. So it's a higher elevation, and what's a little tough to see, this crack in the crust. Remember where we are, right? Southern California. What would that crack be? You're right if you're thinking it would be the San Andreas fault line. So you can actually see the San Andreas fault at the surface there. This was probably my favorite attraction, though. This is called Skull Rock, and I like that she picked a picture that has people in it so you get a sense of scale. And she says it's granite, the igneous rock granite, and it was eroded by rain and groundwater that eventually led to the two eye sockets, so it kind of is like a skull. But this is the same formation process you saw in the video. And then I did not get to do this one. The Barker Dam Nature Trail is a 1.3 mile loop, and it's one of the shortest trails. So our attractions again are going to be Keys View, Skull Rock, and then the Barker Nature Trail. So this is definitely a desert. And so the plant life reflects that. Of course, you have to put the Joshua tree. When I went there, I thought there was one Joshua tree. That's false. There's a lot. And here's how they have adapted to a desert environment. They have waxy surfaces that coats their leaves that helps them resist water loss. This, though, probably is my favorite in the park. It's an interesting story. It's called the jumping chala cactus, and it's a jumping cactus because if you get close to it, it can attach to your clothing, and the parts of it fall off, and it allows them to be reproduce and spread the seeds. So that one literally can jump off and attach to your clothing. And then the datura is a flower here that can bloom anytime, even with a little rain, with very little to a lot of rain in there, and a few colors. And then her animals, the jackrabbit, look at those ears. That helps them release heat to keep their body cooler in this hot desert climate. The bighorn sheep, they can last days without drinking water. And the kangaroo rat can survive without any water because they just get water from the plants they eat. Now, really check this out. See why it's called the kangaroo rat? Right? Or it looks kind of like a T-Rex with the little arms in front. And so this was Maya's current event. The Joshua trees are a type of yucca plant, which are succulents, and they're being burned from Dome's fire. So we've heard a lot about wildfires in the West. This wildfire has burned 43,000 acres of trees. And then Maya's personal reflection. She thought the most interesting thing was how the park was formed. And she liked it because she would have never have thought that it was formed this way, meaning with groundwater. And if she visited, she's like me, Skull Rock she likes, and also Keys View to see the San Andreas Park. So pause me if you need to open up your presentation chart. But here's Maya's name right there, M-A-Y-A, Maya Wright. And then her park name is Joshua Tree in the state of California. And then what are we going to say is our dominant force? Where were these rocks when they were actually eroded? They were underground, so it's groundwater erosion. And then you're going to decide how much you'd like to visit it. But things that you might want to see or do, Keys View, Skull Rock, or the Barker Dam Nature Trail.